The Mediterranean is an amazing place to cruise. During the course of 5 cruises that we've done there, we've seen the 50 locations that you see on this map. These include dozens of bucket list treasures. If you're thinking of going to the Med, this video is for you. In about 8 minutes, we're going to describe the key things that you need to know to understand this fascinating region. Let's start with size. The Mediterranean Sea is big, busy, and diverse. From east to west, it measures about 2,500 miles in length. For those of you in the U.S., see this map, it's about like the distance from Los Angeles to Boston. If a cruise ship didn't stop, they could travel the distance in maybe 5 or 6 days. But the reality is, a week-long cruise in the Mediterranean is only going to give you a small glimpse of all that there is. Second, it's busy. Approximately 1/3 of the world's shipping cargo travels through the Mediterranean, and its ports are well developed and capable. It is in the top 3 as a cruise destination region. Let's talk diversity. There's 22 nations with a Mediterranean coastline. The majority of these nations are accessible by cruise ship, and they boast some of the most iconic sites in Western civilization. So, what's the season? Looking at the map, you can see that Italy is in the center of the Mediterranean. The climate of Italy has been most closely compared with California in terms of U.S. states. It has moderate temperatures, and that means that cruising is actually a year-round option throughout the Mediterranean. Now, peak season is from early April all the way through late November. So, in March and April, many of the ships are going to migrate from winter cruises in the Caribbean, and they'll return here for the summer, and then they'll depart back for the Caribbean the following, generally October or November. By the way, these transatlantic repositioning cruises are a great value. If you like sea days, you can often combine these trips with early or late Mediterranean cruises and make for a great and inexpensive vacation. So, while most people think of sailing in warm weather months, that's not the only option. In 2022, we caught the final Mediterranean sailing of the Norwegian Epic in November and early December. Then we stayed on the ship for a transatlantic repositioning to New York City. We saw Christmas markets and arrived in New York City at Christmas time. It was wonderful. Let's talk about the routes. Remember when I said the Mediterranean borders on 22 countries? In order to understand how cruises work in the Mediterranean, you need to think of it in terms of 5 different regions. The first region will be Spain and Portugal. The second region will be France and Italy. Together, these compose what's usually referred to as the Western Mediterranean. Now, to the east of Italy, there's a large body of water. It's part of the Mediterranean. It's called the Adriatic Sea. On the eastern side of the sea is an area referred to as the Dalmatian coast. Most cruises in this area concentrate their stops on this side, normally in Croatia. So we're going to call this section Dalmatia. Moving further to the east, you come to the Greek islands, which are an extremely popular cruise destinations, sometimes standalone, sometimes paired with ports and regions on either side. Beyond all these is the 5th and final region, which I've just labeled the Middle East. It includes the countries of Turkey, Israel, and Cyprus, along with Egypt to the south. These are more exotic ports, and they're ones which occasionally have political issues that affect cruising, including right now. Most of the shorter Mediterranean cruises will focus on 1 or 2 of these regions at a time. So here are some typical cruises. Maybe from Rome to Barcelona, stopping in islands along the way, or stopping in France. Another popular route might be Venice to Athens. Perhaps a circle tour of the Western Mediterranean, round trip Rome. Before we get to the key ports, let me invite you to like and subscribe to our channel. Our goal is to help you travel as far as you can, as well as you can, while you still can. If you like content like this, it's appealing to you, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and you'll be notified of each video that we produce, like the next ones where we're going to delve more into the itineraries and ports of this region. Thanks in advance. Okay, the key ports. Not everything shown on this map is a port. Some of these places are tour stops which we took out of the port. And of the 50 places that are shown here, there are 5 that I would consider the anchor ports for cruising in the Mediterranean. They are Barcelona, Marseille, Rome, Venice, and Athens. Each of our 5 sailings either originated or ended in one of these ports. Let's consider them one at a time. Barcelona, surprisingly, is the largest cruise port in the Mediterranean in terms of volume. And it is perhaps the port with the greatest number of embarkations and debarkations. Its most famous attractions are Sagrada Familia Cathedral and Las Ramblas, a sprawling pedestrian shopping area. Marseille is a frequent stop along many routes, although perhaps less frequently the beginning or ending point of a trip. Next in line is Rome. It's the 4th most visited city in Europe, behind London, Paris, and Istanbul. Rome is a natural focus point for Mediterranean travel. The harbor for Rome is Civitavecchia, which literally means ancient town. Like Barcelona, Civitavecchia is very important as an embarkation and debarkation point. If this is your entrance or exit port, we highly encourage you to take several extra days and explore the Eternal City. You will not be disappointed. Continuing to move east, we come to Venice, which has long been a major cruise port in the region. This, however, has changed significantly within the last couple years. The city has been overrun with tourists, and there was great concern that the ships were causing environmental damage that risked Venice's quality of life and their World Heritage designation. So they were one of the first European ports to close to large cruise ships. You'll still find this listed as a major embarkation and debarkation point because of its location. But the ships now actually sail out of ports in nearby towns or out of the commercial port. On our last trip there, we actually went to an embarkation point in Venice and were bused to Trieste, which is more than 2 hours away. The final anchor point is Athens. Many people don't realize that Athens is actually larger than Rome. It has a significant cruise port, which is particularly important considering that Greece has approximately 227 inhabited islands and several mainland cities that are most easily accessed by boat. Cruise lines. All the major cruise lines will have a presence in the Mediterranean. The mix, however, may surprise you. We've cruised on 5 different cruise lines in the Med. In the summer of 2025, here's how many ships each of these cruise lines have operating. Holland America, 1 ship. Princess, 2 ships. By contrast, these 2 cruise lines will have more than a dozen ships operating in Alaska during the same period of time. Norwegian, 4 ships. Celebrity, 4 ships. Now remember, this cruise line, Celebrity, started in Greece, so their Mediterranean heritage is very strong. Now, you add these 4 together, and you have 11 ships operating in the Mediterranean this summer. The other one we sailed is MSC. MSC has, count them, 15 ships operating in the Mediterranean this summer. More than the other 4 combined. This is clearly the dominant player in this region. Now, remember what the letters MSC represent. Mediterranean Shipping Company. They're headquartered in Italy. The passenger ships are merely a subsidiary of one of the largest commercial shipping companies in the world. And their ships are an entirely different experience, particularly in Europe. More on that in an upcoming video. We're going to continue working on travel in the Mediterranean. Next time we're going to delve into the specific ports and what you can see in each region. And we're going to work our way through the Mediterranean with recommendations of where you ought to go. Until then, safe travels.